All right, everybody, welcome back to Play It Forward. We are here today with Lorena Russi. Lorena, and she is a writer, director, and actor of A History of Sitting in Waiting Rooms. Lorena, thank you for being on the show. How are you feeling today?
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. I feel great because I didn't have to leave my house today to do this. You know what I mean?
Awesome. Good. We're glad to have you. You're nominated by Lorena Lorenco. Lorena, thank you.
Which is
Lorena, why
confusing. There is another Lorena in the world, but she's Brazilian, is the great irony.
right. And you, as I know from your film, are Colombian.
Colombian, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so you made a
Yeah.
really personal short, seemingly. You'll correct me if I'm
Mhm.
wrong. It's surprisingly really interesting and fun and funny. And I only say surprisingly because, it's a little kitschy in the beginning. And I'm like, you see a lot of kitschy. I do. I see a lot of kitschy films. And it's not an easy uh thing to pull off, but I think you did. I think you
Mm,
really did it really well. And the little tropes
thanks.
that you used were really nice with the little eyebrow thing. And then you took the unibrow off as she got older. I appreciated those
Mm.
little touches. So the film, again, is called A History of Sitting in Waiting Rooms. And can you just introduce yourself, Lorena, please, and the film?
Yeah, so my name's Lorena Russi. I'm a comedian, filmmaker. I'm based in LA, but I'm from Queens originally, and I do have disgruntled Colombian immigrant parents. I was a professional soccer player for 20 seconds, and the whole time was studying comedy and doing stand-up and improv and making my own little shorts. And that was started like 12 years ago. And A History of Sitting in Waiting Rooms was this amalgamation of like all this work and effort, and I got a grant from McDonald's, which sounds like a lie, but is the truth. And I got paid to make this film. And the conceit of it is it's based off my life where when I was 6, I spent a lot of time in waiting rooms. So my mom had cancer and I was in the hospital and I had 6 cavities. So I was at the dentist. And then I one day told my mom that I thought it was a boy. And so my parents took me to gender therapy, which is also very ahead of their time. I mean, this was the 90s, they're Colombian immigrants. And so the film revolves around that. And simultaneously, this is also true. My imaginary best friend growing up was a ghost from the Civil War. And so the film, it's based on my life, but it's really this metaphor of like we all have our own waiting rooms that we're waiting to come out of. And I think for the queer community, it's like coming out of the closet. And so the film is really like an allegory for, my transness and coming out as a lesbian originally and now sort of exploring life as a masculine, non-binary person.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for all.
So super light, really
It really
easy.
is, but you
Yeah.
did. You pulled it
Kitschy,
off as a
apparently kitschy is what
you
I'm hearing is the feedback. So that's
well,
awesome.
you pulled it off as a comedy. I mean, that's what it is, and you pulled it
Mm,
off, and it was really, had very touching moments, and you did a great job
thank
of
you.
acting in it. Um,
Well, so the irony is all those things are I hired a kid, but McDonald's made us produce the film so quickly. It was a 5-day shoot, and I basically had hired this kid. They gave us 10 days to produce it and they gave us the money 5 days before. So this kid that I rush casted, I couldn't even use the kid because we couldn't get the paperwork in time.
uh,
And so why I had to replace the kid because there was no one else that could do it. And everything is outside because all of the interiors just were not, everyone's like, we don't have anything available for you in 5 days. Like we couldn't put a deposit down.
it worked out
So
great. It,
thank you.
I,
Yes, but it's just really funny when
yeah,
anyone talks to me about this movie, I just sort of laugh because I'm like, I don't know if it's good or bad, but the movie is out and it almost wasn't. So that's
it
all you can
worked
do.
out great. It really did.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you. Thank you.
cute to ha
Mm.
cast adults in the kid roles, and then
Mhm.
have them in virtually the same. Um,
Yeah.
kind of costuming, but with a slight alteration, as I mentioned earlier. So
Mm.
it was great. It really pulled it off. I'm really glad you introduced it so well in terms of the narrative. And, the narrative of the movie is you got this kid, has some gender identity stuff potentially, and it's really thematically about like being yourself. How do we be ourselves? And you've got this great line that Seems like we're always just sitting around for someone to say our name so we can move on with our lives. And
Mm,
and that's a really important piece of it. I think, hearing your name called and being seen is so important in the maturation process of our lives. And then there's these layers beyond where not even that, even if we are seen, that's not going to fill the hole in your heart. There's
hmm
another layer beyond that. And so we could talk about all that stuff, but the very first question, I mean, you kind of answered
hmm
it as far as the inspiration of the making this film about these topics. As a filmmaker, you're always personalizing it, no matter what you do.
hmm
And to be a 6 year old, I have a 6 year old right now, and to be a 6 year old,
hmm
and to have a mom who's been diagnosed with cancer, to go to gender. I hope, did your mom make it? I hope.
Yes, yes, sorry. That is also the follow-up. People are like, what happened to your mom? I'm like, oh, she's very alive. She's very
Great.
alive.
That's
She's very
awesome.
in my content. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
So to have a big traumatic scare like that, that luckily resolved itself, and you still have two parents, and in that way, I mean, it resolves itself however it needs to for, everyone.
Mm,
But it certainly, is the lesser or the better of the outcomes, in
sure.
terms of that hole in your heart.
Hmm
So
Yeah, I think we can all agree mom's not dying is for the best.
is for the
Yeah.
best. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say that categorically because it's like there are people who didn't, their moms did die, and to say, well, your life is still unfolding in the best possible way, and to still have that faith,
hmm
for those
Well,
people.
look, I can't get canceled today for saying maybe it was for the best that your mom died. But yeah, I know what you mean. I think life is going to be however it's good. It's going to move however it's meant to for you in this life, whether you believe in multiple lifetimes or not. I think more what I'm saying is, yeah, I'm so thankful she came out of it. It was obviously very traumatic, and there's an element of that specific feature of it. I was like 3 literally when she was diagnosed, but um there's just an element of like, yeah, it changed my life. It marked me. I remember it. I think about it. It's coming up in my art, in my artistry in lots of ways. But yeah, I'm obviously really thankful she's still around and we make a lot of stuff together and she's very funny and very fun. And I can't imagine what my life and my art would be like without her. It would still exist probably, but it would be different, of course.
So getting back to this idea of the inspiration of the movie and the themes that you're exploring, and this idea of being in a waiting room where you're looking to set yourself free in some capacity. I mean, I guess that's the
hmm
idea, is that you're sort of held in time and you're trying to
hmm
break out of that. Where does that, beyond what you've already said, sort of live in you and in your personal history?
Yeah, I think that's a really sharp take of like waiting rooms to me are this literal limbo that you're in, and it feels sort of insane that we're waiting for someone to tell us what to do. And conversely, I think everybody in this world just wants someone to tell us what to do, like the Fleabag quote of like, I want someone to tell me how to dress and what to wear. And so there's an element of arrested development that I feel like I have in these literal spaces where I had no control, but simultaneously just feeling like, oh, there's so much ownership I give other people to allow me to move on with my own life when like can have control and I can have direction. Like the element of people mispronouncing my name is like a very unfortunately, it's a hat I wear and I wrestle with and I won't let it go. It's Lorena, but some people call me Lorena, and so I've been called Lenora, and in the short, like people call me by all kinds of names. Uh, and I think as I've gotten older, I'm like, well, this can hold me down, and I can feel like your name is your crown, and it's very important that everyone pronounce your name correctly. Yes, that's true, but also conversely, I'd like to move on with my life. And I can't because I'm giving people this power and this ownership. And so, can I just get out of my own way? Can I just know that I know what my name is? I don't know this person. They don't have to pronounce my name correctly, or even I can come out of the closet. I can identify however I want. I can actually take ownership versus relegating myself to being angry and stuck in the proverbial waiting room.
I love that. Thank you so
Mm,
much. I feel like I should share that. My parents
mm.
mispronounced my name.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
or yeah, my one living remaining parent still does it, and so when I
Mm.
came, my parents
What do
are
they call you? What?
well. So I immigrated
Well,
from
no, if I were you, I'd be pissed. Yeah, there's no,
well,
that's,
but I gave
yeah.
it up. No, it's like whatever. You don't know my name, like that's kind of like your thing. I
But I'm assuming they named you.
Well, they did. They named me Kostya. So Kostya is
Mm,
a Russian name. I was born in Ukraine in 1979. So when I immigrated, sorry, in 74. So when I immigrated to America, I had to translate Kostya into English. So I
mm.
translated it as Kostya. And so I've called myself Kostya for a long
Oh,
time. And so they never got it right.
oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I suppose though that ties in. Do you think there's an element of like, they're like, we gave you this name, we're not just going to change it?
No, I think it was just a different lack of paying attention kind of a thing. And
Mm,
but that's just goes to show exactly what you're saying. It's like, like sure it pissed me off a little bit and I may have made mention of it a time or two. And then what? What do you do? And then you just say, well,
mm,
like I'm gonna let myself out of this waiting room. This is not,
mm,
the nice thing about a waiting room is that it gives you time to think. And
mm,
then you can think your way out of it.
mm.
So,
Well,
um,
eventually someone's going to pull you out in theory. That's the thing is it's
well,
usually it.
and if they don't, what happens?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's the element of the like literal space of the waiting room, and I think probably speaking to more of that point is the ghost character is like there's a sense of I think everyone in this world feels invisible, like I definitely do, or I feel unseen. And actually, if you talk to anyone long enough, I think that's a lot of people's demons is like no one really sees me or knows me. And I think to be invisible like a ghost is there's an element of like, is anyone actually going to save me? Can anyone actually see me? And so like that's like you have to do it for yourself versus I think other sort of metaphor of the physical space or being in a space
Exactly.
where
Yeah.
you're connecting with someone
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's the death. It's also like the ghost is like there's the element of death throughout the piece. It's like her mom is sick, like because also of course it's based off my life, but this is sort of a fantastical reimagining of it, and so uh, pushing thematically with the theme of like death and loss and grieving who you once were and who you thought you could be, and literal death of a ghost of a parent, right? Like in the feature version, I think the protagonist character will pass and it'll just be her and her father. But yeah, I think that's something that's like the death of self and being reborn and having to reckon
Totally.
with that.
Totally.
Someone not usually most people won't just say your name and help you move on with your life. Actually, if they do, it's sort of in the more mundane elements of life. It's not actually in the moments that, not always, but like I think that's probably the distinction we're
Well,
grappling with.
I think that's what we're vibing on and agreeing on is that ultimately we
Mm,
have to recognize ourselves. We have to see ourselves. And, part of the
mm,
problem with not being seen, is that we don't show ourselves. That's
mm-hmm.
that's part of that too.
Yeah.
Um, so, now we've kind of got a lot of themes out there and we've got a lot of juicy stuff, I'd say, for humanitarian purposes, which is the role of art
Mm.
and uh, the meaning. What do you see now? What do you, as a viewer, you made it, you wrote it, you edited it, co-edited it. I'm sure you're sitting in there with the editor. Um, and now it looks like you're writing a feature from it. What is it when you watch this short that you see going on with Lorena?
The character or with
Yeah,
myself,
the
the
character.
character. I mean, honey, it's impo when you make so I can't watch it anymore. Yeah, I've seen it so many times. There's just it's hard to not watch it as pieces. I think also this specific short is like a vignette. There's lots of little vignettes and setups, and the intro to your earlier point is just like, yeah, it was like a fixed the night before, filmed the next day, you're like, ugh. So like sometimes it's hard to not sort of see how the sausage gets made, but I think ultimately when I have seen it and it vibes with a crowd or like, usually it's one of those pieces that either goes first or last, which is like nice because then it's like done with or you set the tone. Um, but I don't know. I think when I watch the film now and look at Lorena, the character, I just have like a sense of peace. It really does feel like I put myself out there. I feel like it's a character that there's a reckoning. There's a little kid in pain. There's like love in this friendship with her and the ghost. There's romantic love. There's unrequited love between her and Molly, the white girl. Um, I think there's, in a lot of ways, like Billy Elliot was a comp and like E.T., there's just sort of like this sense of tenderness that I do appreciate that I think hopefully comes across from the film.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I think that's kind of now looking at it. But again, I don't know.
No,
It's
that's
too hard. I'm
cool.
too in it. Like I'm acting. It's like too, I think, masturbatory for me to be like, you know what I see? I'm kind of like I'm leading in it, and I directed and wrote it.
Well,
So,
in those, I totally hear you. I mean, in those objective moments sometimes that we have watching a film when it's been enough time, or we just are able to
mm,
be in the right kind of headspace where it's just kind of distant from us a little bit, and we can sort of see it as an observer. And
mm,
maybe you just haven't had that moment where you can easily recall it now, but there is that something, that je ne sais quoi, and like you just put it, I think that tenderness, there's
mm,
something about that tenderness that is really there.
mm,
And I, and in terms of putting it together with the meaning, I mean, the main meaning to me is the virtue of being true to your own identity.
mm,
Um, and how that truth really,
mm,
is what ultimately sets us free as
mm,
spirits and outside of the shells and outside of the facades and outside of the egos that we occupy most of the time. And so I think
mm,
that tenderness kind of touches on that. That tenderness kind of says, hey,
mm,
and you mentioned ET, there's this extra layer, there's this sort of transcendent thing, and it's
mm,
related to tenderness, it's related to love, it's
mm.
related to this sympathetic awareness.
Yeah, I mean, I think also lasering down on it more. I think it's probably like masculine tenderness. There's a sense of like softness and hardness that I like to play with. I think it's also just what I'm thinking about. But if I look at the films that inspire me the most, th those tend to really explore, as an artist, the movies you like the most tend to explore your deepest, most personal wounds. And like their through line is probably masculine people with a soft underbelly that are going through a reckoning or a forging of self. And so I think that is probably what I'm exploring. And continue to explore the sickness in my head of like, how do we keep representing soft boys?
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, why
Mm.
is it a masculine tenderness? I mean, the way you understand it, how do you define the masculine tenderness versus uh, feminine tenderness or any other kind?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've just always been an androgynous person, I suppose. Yeah, I've always subscribed to a sense of masculinity, I guess now sort of feet to the fire. What is that? Maybe sort of more basic languages like sun and moon energy. I don't think I have more emotionally minded. There's something using sun and moon feels like maybe very basic, but there is a sense of like bodies that tend to, let's say, in cis men or even in trans men, like more masculine minded folks. I feel like that's just what I've how I've lived and how what I've explored.
Yeah.
And I think the movie, like Billy Elliot, has, I think, a good sense of like
Can't
so.
I don't know if I've seen it or I
You've never
can't
seen
remember.
Billy Elliot? What the hell is
I
wrong with
haven't
you?
been watching television or movies for like 10 years.
Okay, Billy Elliot's from like 1997.
I must have missed it. Yeah, I didn't have
Yeah, yeah.
budget.
It's
Yeah, his
about like a
issues.
North.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's about a North English ballerina, and
Yes, I
he.
never saw it. I
Yeah.
never saw it.
Yeah,
Confirm
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I did see
Um,
E.T.
right, and good. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think I just I really I'm just not, yeah, I don't know. There's like an element of gosh, I've never really had to verbalize it, what it makes it masculine. I mean, the very
Well,
basic trope is like I dress like boy,
let me
but
see if
that's not,
I can
yeah.
help a little bit. To me, what it sounds like you might be saying is that there's level of firmness or hardness that's associated with masculinity, and
Mm,
revealing the underside of that kind of is what I'm hearing you say, and it simultaneously, seeing motherhood before my eyes and that
mm.
unfolding, and the firmness and the just, I guess, for lack of a better word, the strength, right? The real strength that it takes to hold your shit together while
Yeah,
you're mothering is such a masculine, kind of in terms of how you're describing it. Do you know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
it's interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to also like because like for example, I would say Latin women are some of the most masculine people I've ever seen, although
Leiden?
Latin
Latin.
women,
Oh, Latin.
Latin, yeah, yeah, are like some of the most, like Latina women are some of the most
Well,
masculine people I've ever met, but
well,
also hypersexual, like
you've got that
hypersexualized, very
one.
feminine.
You've got that one stereotype that you've got in the film that, her first line is like, I'm going to fight her or something like that.
Oh, I was like, what?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So that's funny. Yeah, because I wanted to kind of show, I think the element, if we're going to dive into like Latino tropes and cultures, is that we sort of get showcased in this one way, in this one brush. And I kind of wanted to give a little wink to like, I know Latina women like that. And I love that. That actress name is Michelle Adana. And like, I think, yeah, I just think it's funny. Yeah, there, but she also goes to therapy. So it's kind of like, how can we showcase the sort of newer generation and like break that trope? And then also, I am a Latino protagonist. I don't know, we've seen a lot of Latino protagonists like this that are just not talking about, it's like we're talking about all the themes and the shit, but it's not so like capital L Latino, if that makes sense. Like everyone gives me the comp of Wes Anderson for this film, which was not really the intention, but like, of course, you're sort of in the fire of making the film already exists. You just have to kind of make it, if that makes sense. Like it's already been decided what it will be, but you're just, and it's like funny to think that, that yeah, I'm like, okay, awesome. I love that it's a Latino Wes Anderson film. Great. I want more of that to exist.
Awesome. Last question, play forward, is
Mm.
since making the film, how have you been personally changed?
Since making the film, I think personal changes are just, the film was great in terms of work. It's been nice to sort of showcase it and connect with people. I think ultimately, it's funny because I am an actor and I acted in this, and people are like, oh, you must love attention. I really don't love attention. I love connection. I think that's what I've always like when I played sports. That's what I really enjoyed. I don't love the sound of the lights coming on the stage. I love that we can make each other laugh and it's a loop. And I think that's probably the greatest gift the film has given me is so many people have reached out. They were like touched by the film. I do think, yes, the film starts and people are like, not another like quirky little thing, but like it, for the people that it affects, it reaches people and people have like cried and people have reached out. But I think personally, I've just been able to connect more with people. I've gotten work from the film. I think I've also just grown so much as a creator. I think whether it was right or wrong to have to make the film that arduously, it's like I have that under my belt and nothing will be harder than that. So I think there's an element of just like immense pride and sort of I don't know, a sense of instead of white knuckling the table, I have more peace I feel like my ego is much more satiated. I think that a lot of times I didn't come into this industry in a very traditional way. I came at it from like sports and just filling the Jesus hole in my heart with art. And I think this was just something that really, I was like, great, these were my goals. I wanted to get a major grant and do and make a beautiful film that is very much about me and from me and my point of view. And hey, if I can make a Marvel movie in the next 5 or 10 years, I wouldn't be upset. But I think it's just given me a lot of artistic peace.
It's awesome. Lorena
Yeah.
Russi, writer, director, actor. I love that. Filling the Jesus hole in your heart with
Mhm.
art. That's beautiful connection. That is what it's all about. Lorena, thank you so much for being on Play It Forward. Thank you for sharing everything. Thank you for sharing yourself.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, Lorena
So nice.
Lorenko. Till next time, everybody on Play It Forward, we are out. Be well and much love. Bye.
Bye.